this.
Welcome back, TPR Nation. This is your host, Micah Shalansky, and welcome to today's special mini pod episode we have on tips from the trenches. I wanted to chat a little bit about some questions we get from clients. As you know, we're wrapped up Surge. By the time this airs, we've wrapped up Surge, and I get some wonderful questions that come directly from clients, and I love to share them with you. And number one, I love to share them, but number two, I want to hear your ideas about this as well. How do you as the TPR Nation handle these questions when you get from clients? One of the things we love about the Perfect RA, and yes, I know we're tooting our own horn right here, but this is real information. It's not theoretical. It's not you should tell your clients ABC, but I've never sat in front of a client. I'm meeting with clients just like you. Today I had 8 meetings. I wrapped those up with clients. Now I got some great questions. I'm doing some mini pod recordings just for you. And I'd love to hear your questions, or better yet, your answers to these things and when they come up. All right. So one of the questions that I get a lot from new clients or prospects is the house question, right? They have a mortgage on their house. They want to pay their house off when they're retired, or they don't feel they can retire until their mortgage is paid off, somewhere in that nature. Now, most of my clients, vast majority of their assets are pre-retire or pre-tax. Most of my clients, as you guys know, are federal employees, great people. They've saved a lot of money. They got taxable income and a lot of it when they retire, right? Their pensions, their Social Security, their TSPs, their savings plans are generally pre-tax vehicles. And there's a lot of thought out there that that house has to be paid off in order to retire, which we know as advisors is not exactly the case, right? This is much more of a cash flow question than a balance sheet question. It's more what money do you need coming in every month and can you pay your bills versus what is exactly does your balance sheet look like? Yeah, I get that they're correlated, but we know they're not exactly the same. But clients sometimes get it in their mind. And so one of the things we have to address is client concerns whenever they come up. As you know, Jarvis and I, when we're talking, whenever I start a meeting with the client, I'm always asking them, what are your questions, concerns, or comments that you want to make sure we're addressing today? Now, one of the reasons I always say that is, number one, I can always get back on track. I have my agenda in front of me. I can always address it. I always want to make sure I hear what the client's concerns are first, because 2 reasons. One, I want to make sure I'm answering their questions. But number 2, they're not going to listen to me until I've addressed their concern. Now, I may not have to answer their question right away, but they have to know I'm going to answer their question. We've all been in those situations where we have something pressing on our mind, someone else is saying something, and we're really not paying attention to the word they're saying until we get our comments in. That's not the position we want our clients in. So we always ask those questions, right? Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Do you have any concerns that you want to make sure we're addressing today? And then we go through what those are, and I write them down to make sure. One of them we'll often get is, Micah, I want to pay my house off before I retire. I said, great. Having a house paid off is a wonderful thing. You know, what's important about having that house paid off to you? Most of the time, it's the payment, right? Now, the client has a 2.5% mortgage. Their TSP is averaging 7 to 9% rate of return. Boy, we can all do the math on that one. So this is not a financial question. This is a lot more of an emotional question that's going to be there. So the way I want to address this is absolutely agreeing with them. Paying the house off would be great, right? We would love to. Then I want to bring up a pivot in the conversation. Everyone talks about rates of return, et cetera. They get a concept that they may or may not understand it fully on the difference between mortgage rates and how much money they're making. But a mortgage rate is fixed. That payment is out there. They're not really seeing that 2.5%, 3% mortgage they have. They're seeing that $2,500, $3,500 a month mortgage payment that they want to go away when they retire. So I want to do a couple of things with that. Number one, acknowledge it's paying off makes a lot of sense. I also want to pivot it really quickly to a tax conversation. Now, if your clients mainly have after-tax money, this could be a little bit different. My clients mainly have pre-tax money, and they're thinking, hey, $300,000 mortgage, I take $300,000 out of my TSP, bada boom, bada bing, no mortgage payment. However, Aunt Iris is going to have quite a big bill for them at the end of the year. So one of the things I want to address is, hey, is it okay if we pay the house off the most tax efficient way possible? Now, most of the time, people are going to come back and say, yes, absolutely, the most tax efficient way. I would love that. Okay, great. And as you know, when you take money out of your IRA account, out of your TSP account, the first person that needs to get paid is Aunt Iris. That money's pre-tax. Aunt Iris, the IRS, wants to make sure they're getting their pound of flesh first. So we need to be careful about paying your house off in one foul swoop and putting you in a much higher tax bracket. So is it okay if we come up with a plan to get your house paid off over a couple of years versus all at once? Now, this is a very good question, right? Now, these are our little questions. These are guided discovery questions that are there. And the whole purpose behind this is a couple-fold. Number one, let's make sure the client and I are on the same page. What if they're like, heck no, I don't really care about taxes. I want that damn mortgage paid off today. Okay, this is a much different discussion, right? Versus, hey, I don't think I can afford to have a mortgage payment in retirement, therefore it needs to get paid off. So we need to craft that conversation properly to find out what the client's concern is. For me, it's asking many questions along the way to make sure we're in agreement to get to a path. So it's, okay, is it okay if we do it from the most tax efficient way possible? Great, we get agreement on there. Is it okay if we pay it off over a couple of years versus all at once in order to save you money in taxes? Yes, okay, perfect, great. Now you can outline the strategy that's gonna be there. And I like to outline the strategy of how to pay that mortgage off in 3 to 5 years. I wrote a white paper, it's on our website, planyourfederalretirement.com. If you guys wanna jump on there and gives an example of just how these numbers work. You can read faster than I'm talking, I'm sure, so you guys can check that out. But I'm gonna go through that example with a client and then say, is this a strategy you would like? Or, and I give them an alternative about keeping that mortgage payment in retirement. But what if they didn't have to make that mortgage payment? What if that mortgage payment came directly out of their investments and they didn't see it? Would that be a better opportunity for them? And I want to give the clients a choice right here, because now we're seeing, okay, how important is that mortgage getting paid off? Is it, I don't want to see the payment? Is it, I don't like having debt? What is that main concern that's there? So again, I'm going to address it from the tax consideration. I'm going to address it from a time consideration. I'm going to explain how a strategy would work to get it paid off over the next 3 to 5 years. Then I'm also going to pivot and say, hey, there's another opportunity, and I'm going to present just keeping the mortgage and maybe making all the payments out of the retirement account for it. Again, 2.5% mortgage, 7% average rate of return. Maybe that makes more sense for the client. But the important thing here, it's the client's decision. I'm not jumping to the answer for them. We're coming together and to find out what that best answer is, and the client gets to choose. Now, of course, if they're going to choose something that's going to devastate their retirement plan, I can't be a part of it. But most of the time, that's not the case. They want their concern taken care of. So how do you do this? When you get these questions, when you get these comments about, hey, I want to get this mortgage paid off, I have this big expense I want to tackle, and the client has a bunch of pre-tax account, what's the best way that you do it? I want to hear about it. Hit us up on Twitter and social. Let us know what that is. If you got a better idea, I'd love to hear it, and we could feature you in the Perfect RIA podcast. Remember action items, right? Take action. These podcasts are all about learning. So what's your conversation like? Make sure you practice it. Make sure you know what those good answers are. Vote early, vote often. That means ratings. You bet. Jump in, give us 5-star reviews in iTunes. Make sure we're your favorite podcast. And until next time, happy planning.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect RIA, the perfect RIA.